Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about instant change being an illusion. And this is something you really want to wrap your head around because most diet marketing is really built around the idea that you can just change like that, right? Because let's face it, right? Every time you start a diet, it's on a Monday, right? And you start that Monday perfectly following your plan. And if we take a step back and really reflect on what it means to perfectly follow your plan, what it usually means is that you are going to completely change how you eat from that point forward. Perfectly. And when we put it that way, you start to realize just how ridiculous this is. The idea that you just in one day can completely change yourself 180 degrees to make completely different food decisions from that point forward. And I've seen no evidence that this is a real possibility. It's estimated that 95 to 98% of dieters that lose weight on a diet put it back on. So again, this idea that we're just going to change over one night of sleep is really kind of crazy. And I think it sets you up for a lot of misery because it's really amazing to think that the only way you know how to approach your weight, think about this for a second. Literally, the only way you know how to approach your weight is by changing everything all at once. Completely 180-degree shift in one night. You wake up as a different version of yourself. Now, you would have to tell me where else in your life is that a possibility? Right? Let's just say, for example, you want to learn a musical instrument. You wake up tomorrow just playing that instrument 10 hours a day from that point forward. You want to be a dancer? You're just going to wake up tomorrow and just dance 10 hours a day till you're an amazing dancer? Where else in your life can you just fall into being a completely 180-degree different version of yourself? And those examples aren't even good because it's harder than that. You know what I mean? It's the idea that you're not starting from scratch. You're starting with all your old habits, your old thought patterns, your lifestyle. And you're expecting that you're going to wake up on a Monday and you're just going to forget all of your previous programming over the previous decades of your life. And you're just going to act different. And I think when you really take a step back and reflect on this, I hope that the ridiculousness of this idea become really evident. Because in what world could you just wake up tomorrow and completely be a different person? For example, why don't you wake up tomorrow and just write with the other hand? Just shift your dominant hand. I mean, what are we doing? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. And so again, if you try to shift your dominant hand tomorrow to the other one, you could do it, but it would take tons and tons of effort. You'd have to think about every little thing you do. Everything you do on autopilot now, you would have to rethink about. And what would happen is you'd get exhausted and tired and frustrated. And the exact same thing happens every time you start your weight loss and your diets, is that you think you're going to wake up Monday being this totally different person who always makes the right choice or a different choice. And there's no real reference point for that in reality. So what's the alternative? Again, I'm not here just to bum you out. Okay. I'm here with a solution, but the solution is not this idea that you're going to change instantly tomorrow. That just doesn't have a good track record behind it. Again, you can reflect on your own. If you changed instantly and you're living that change now 20 years later, then ignore what I'm saying, please. But if you have tried to change by jumping into Monday being perfect with your new way of being, and it hasn't stuck, then keep listening. Because the alternative is so obvious and simple, it's almost hard to believe that you haven't thought of it yet. But the idea is that you don't jump into it 100%. That fine, start on a Monday, but start on a Monday strategically, where you start to strategically and systematically and comfortably, manageably, sustainably start changing your behaviors in a way that's built to last. So it's not just about the fastest results you can get, it's about the longest lasting results you can get. That shift changes everything, as you can imagine, because when we start approaching it this way, we pay attention to how we feel. I mean, again, folks, how do you feel the night before the morning of your first day of your keto plan, your Weight Watchers plan, your intermittent fasting plan? It doesn't matter. Literally, Again, this is what ties all diets together, by the way. So stop evaluating diets based on the nutritional philosophy. It's a trap, because every diet's exactly the same, because they all have the same mindset that you are going to because it doesn't matter, right? It can be Weight Watchers, keto, carnivore, vegan, Mediterranean. It literally doesn't matter what plan you choose. What ties them all together is that diet mindset. You're going to jump into that plan 100%. And you have this idea that you're going to start on Monday and you're just going to keep being 100% until you get to your goal weight. What are you going to do on Thursday and Friday and the weekend, if you even get there? Again, so at some point you got to be more honest with yourself. Take a step back and reflect at what you've been doing. And this is the core thing you've been doing that's been completely wrong. I can't make it any simpler than that. You're way too smart to keep doing this. You really are. Again, metaphorically, you're running a marathon, but you're running it like a sprinter. That's basically what you're doing with your weight loss. You're running a marathon race. You're in the Boston Marathon, but the gun goes off and you're running as fast as you possibly can, as if it were a sprint. And you're kicking the shit out of everyone for the first eighth of a mile. You're just first place. Wow. This is the fastest takeoff time in Boston Marathon history. Yeah, great. But then you collapse to the ground, right? And you don't finish the race. So what's the point? To live in the glory days of, wow, I was first place for the first eighth of a mile, So again, this idea of approaching your weight loss completely 100% jumping into it is your core issue with weight loss. And the alternative is to start slowly. And this can show up in a lot of different ways. So, starting slow could be, going to work on your highest calorie habit. Maybe you overeat at dinner, or you snack at night, or you graze during the afternoon, and you start working on it, and you start working to find a real genuine solution to reduce or eliminate those calories. And you figure out a way that you can do this that's relatively comfortable, that's not overwhelming. And you focus on that one thing. And you say, and then maybe in addition to that, maybe you focus on, I'm going to clean up my breakfast. I'm going to dial some really healthy, good breakfast, and I'll make them easy and natural and automatic for me. I'm going to focus on that. Maybe do that for a couple months, but at the end of the couple months, you now worked on your worst calorie habit and you've worked on optimizing your first meal of the day. Now we move on to the next thing. Okay. And this is how you approach anything you're serious about learning. If you're serious about learning things, the most serious people that learn something go to college or enroll in a program, and you make a commitment outside of yourself. And usually when you make that commitment, the curriculum is broken up into pieces, and you do the first part of the piece, learn that, and then you build on top of it the next part of the piece. And then you build on top of that with the next part of the piece. And you systematically and strategically work your way through the system until you end up at your goal. Not with weight loss. With weight loss, you start on day one doing everything perfect. It's the equivalent of cramming for a test. You're just going to cram the whole time? No, you're not. You're going to pull all-nighters every night? Yeah, for 2 or 3 nights maybe. And then you're going to be exhausted and sick. And this is in essence what you're doing with yourself with the weight loss every time, is you're starting off way too fast and you're depleting yourself and you can't keep going. So again, the alternative is to start slowly, strategically, systematically. And I give you my favorite quote to drive this point home, that most people overestimate how much weight they can lose in a month and underestimate how much weight they can lose in a year. And when you start thinking longer term, when you start being more strategic with your methods, it changes the whole paradigm within which you're working in. And it makes things that seemed impossible before seem a lot more probable and possible. The last kind of metaphor I'll give you is that dieting is basically a get-rich-quick scheme for weight. And the weird thing is that you have literally only been sold get-rich-quick schemes for weight. That's what's really interesting. At least in the realm of making money, yes, we understand what get-rich-quick schemes are, because we also understand the other ways of making money that are legit, right? Well, what are they? You go to school or you go to some training program, you develop skills. Or you apprentice, you develop skills that make you valuable. You offer those skills to your customers or employer, and you earn income from that. That's the traditional way that we create value and earn income. And get-rich-quick schemes, they'd be great if they were real, but they aren't. And they don't work because they're bullshit. And if you're like most people, you know this and you don't fall for a lot of quick get rich quick schemes. But when it comes to weight loss, you fall for it every time. And there's almost no difference. They really prey upon your impatience. So again, becoming more patient and approaching your weight in a more strategic, systematic way is really the beginning step to mastering your weight, to living at your goal weight for the rest of your life. And it's a completely different approach than what most dieters are doing. So if you want support with this process and this approach, please click the link in my bio. Go get the free hypnosis session I gave you. Watch the training I made for you. I created a goal weight quiz for you. So I got a bunch of free things for you to help you truly get to your goal weight and live there for the rest of your life. And a lot of it's just free. So go check it out. Yeah, I do have a program too, but I will help you out for free. So go check that out. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask those. Any weight loss questions are welcome. No matter what you're struggling with weight, I can almost guarantee that I will give you a different take on it than you normally get. So use this opportunity to ask many questions you want. Dreaming of Taco says, stick to good habits. Yeah, I mean, sticking to good habits, though, I mean, habits in and of themselves, because really weight loss is behavior change. That's why it's so hard. Changing behavior is hard just to begin with. And if you don't know how to change behavior, if you've never learned how to change your behavior strategically, it's almost impossible, because you dieters have one tool to change your behavior, and it's willpower, which basically in essence is you planning on fighting against yourself forever. And it's just never going to work. Your brain's not built that way. So the idea of sticking to habits, I agree. You need to learn how to manage your habits, how to deal with the unhelpful ones, and how to introduce and solidify the helpful ones. That's so much of what living at your goal weight is. But if you really all are honest with yourselves, you don't have any real strategy how to deal with your habits. You've got willpower. You're just going to start doing a habit. You're just going to stop doing a habit. And there's no real depth to your approach. Program Yourself, then we have a whole section on habits, right? So we got the goal weight blueprints where I take you through the goal weight pyramid, which is, again, it's built like a pyramid because mindset's on the bottom, then lifestyle, then eating. That's how you master your weight. And in the mindset section, one whole component is the habit section. We go through the habits. So you have a neuroscientifically grounded approach to influencing and dealing with your habits, breaking them down, understand the different components of a habit. There's a thing called the habit loop. Do you even, again, I'm not blaming you for this, but what I'm trying to say, the reason I get on here every day is I try and go in depth with some different concepts that a lot of dieters just throw around flippantly. So they use the word habit. Oh yeah, you gotta stick to your habits. You gotta do your habit. You gotta change your habits. Okay, great. I agree, but how? How are you gonna do that? How would you suggest I do that? And what you're quickly gonna devolve down to is basically just do it or just don't do it. Which in essence, the way we deal with weight loss and behavior in 2025, to be honest, is very similar to how we dealt with drug use in the 80s. Remember we had just say no for drugs, right? Nancy Reagan. Yeah, just say no to it. Oh, didn't know it was that easy, Nancy. Thank you. Wish I'd thought of that. And diets are basically just say no for food and your weight. Right? Because what are you supposed to do? Again, depending on the philosophy of what you're going to follow, you're going to say no to carbs. You're going to say no to eating for 16 hours. You're going to say, yes, I'm going to track every calorie all of a sudden. I'm going to, again, it doesn't matter, whatever you choose to do, you're going to force yourself to do it for as long as you can. And that's where the problem starts, because you can force yourself to do it for a little while and you always end up going back to your normal, natural behaviors. And this, in a nutshell, is the challenge of weight loss, is that you are basically fighting against your mind and body to lose weight. That's what a diet is. You're not working with your mind and body to get yourself down to your goal weight and stay there for the rest of your life on your autopilot. That's Program Yourself thin. Don't get them confused. Dieting very specifically, and it doesn't matter what diet you pick. I don't give a shit. Give me a diet that's not like this. I would love to hear it. But every single diet's the same because, again, the philosophy's changed. No doubt about that. But the approach and the process you use is always the same, where whatever the philosophy is, I'm not going to eat carbs, I'm not going to eat for 16 hours, I'm going to just eat vegetables, whatever it is, you're going to jump into that 100% and just do it perfectly. That's your plan. And that's where the plan falls apart, because your brain as a human, you're not designed to just change everything you do to be different tomorrow. You, as a human, you run most of your life is run on autopilot. You're just doing what you did, doing what you learned, doing what you've been programmed to do. And the idea that you're going to wake up tomorrow and micromanage all those automatic patterns and behaviors is ridiculous. Just to highlight why weight loss is hard, because I know most people think weight loss is hard because you love the good food and you don't want to stop eating it. And I'm not, that's obviously a part of it. But the biggest part of the challenge of weight loss is the behavioral challenge piece of it. And to illustrate that point, losing weight, why it's so hard, you can understand if by imagining that tomorrow you woke up and you decided, I'm going to use my other hand as my dominant hand. So I'm going to use my other hand to write. I'm going to use my other hand to use my phone. I'm going to use my other hand to use my computer mouse. Okay. And I'm going to use my other hand to brush my teeth. And what you'd realize within about 5 minutes is that you were annoyed and frustrated and irritable because it took so much energy for you to do things that are usually automatic, right? I challenge you today, go brush your teeth with your other hand and notice what that experience feels like. I will let you know. It'll feel irritating and annoying. You're going to feel like you're not doing it right. You have to concentrate on a lot of stuff. Basically, in essence, what you're doing is you're using a lot of energy compared to when you normally brush your teeth. On the other hand, you don't use much energy because you're just automatically doing it. So, okay. So this is what happens with weight loss, because all of a sudden you have to decide and force yourself to make the right choice for breakfast. You got to make something new that's not on autopilot. You have to think about it. You have to make yourself do it. You got a new pattern, tiring. Then on top of that, I'm not going to stop at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not going to get a coffee and a muffin. I'm not going to do that. And you fight that off and you get to work and you didn't do it, but now you're more depleted and irritable. And now here comes lunch, right? You usually get this lunch. No, not today. I'm on a diet. So I got to come up with something else. I can't do my normal thing. I'm going to do something new. And this just goes on and on until you quit, until you just cry uncle. And what ends up happening is, again, we always stop the diet. What do they always say? Like, in like a lion, out like a lamb, right? Is that for winters, but in like a lion, out like a lamb, I think is the best description for a diet. Right. You started off and there's all this fanfare and excitement and all this, energy going on. And it just fades away. The diets always stop in the same way. They just fade away. They disappear without you realizing a lot of times, little bit at a time. So next thing you know, you're just back to doing what you always do. But there becomes the core issue, is that you go back to doing what you always do, which is not dieting. Again, if you're overweight, folks, if you've been overweight for more than 5 years, let's say, you have an overweight mindset. The way you think, the way you naturally live, the way you naturally eat keeps you overweight. Your automatic processes, your subconscious programming, if you want to put it that way, keeps you at your overweight weight. And you can diet yourself and fight against yourself to get that weight lower. But you can't keep dieting. And so what ends up happening is most people go back to their overweight mindset. Because again, even if you get your weight down, the same problem exists. You can't keep dieting and you can't live at your goal weight if you got an overweight mindset. And that's when all of a sudden the core issue really reveals itself. And it's that you have never learned how to think like a thin, healthy person. You don't know how to think like a thin, healthy person. You never learned it. You've never practiced it, and you can't do it. But that's the real secret to living at your goal weight, is to transforming the way you think, the way you live, the way you eat strategically and systematically into that of a thin, healthy person. You see, weight loss is all about what you have to stop doing. Weight loss, and by the way, dieting is bullshit. Dieting is just a branch of the food companies, just so you know. So all the diet information you've received over your life, almost all of it is really funded by these food companies. And it's because dieting doesn't work. So, okay, so why would a food company own a diet? And you're saying, what are you talking about, Jim? Well, those of you who don't know, Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. Atkins Food Products is owned by the same company that owns Auntie Pretzels and Cinnabon. Slim Fast owned by the same company that owns Ben & Jerry's ice cream. So these companies do not want you to live at your goal weight forever and eat healthy food. They want to take your money when you go on a diet, and then they want you to quit and go back to eating all the bullshit food they sell. And that's their goal. And so part of what they've done is they've installed this diet mindset in us, all of us. You can't get away from it. If you've lived in America, you have been exposed to millions of food ads and diet ads in your life. And those diet ads condition the way that you think about weight loss. And so you now think about weight loss like a dieter. And dieters are overweight. Dieting is notoriously doesn't work. That's why the GLP-1s were so exciting, because it's the first thing ever that they've seen that works. So dieting without question does not work. And the reason it doesn't work primarily is because it's the wrong mindset. With a diet mindset, you're starting from a huge just a huge hole. You really are. Because again, dieting is all about losing weight. Dieting is all about getting to your goal weight. The truth is, your goal is not to lose weight. Your goal is to live at your goal weight. If I asked you how long you want to keep the weight off for, what are you going to say? Say forever, right? But have you studied how to live at your goal weight forever, or have you studied how to lose weight quickly? And the answer is obvious. Program Yourself Thin is about living at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, that's my promise to you. You get the program. That's what I'm promising you the program's going to do. You use the program. That's what it's going to do. It's a strategic, systematic plan to help you live at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot. So again, I just want to highlight that, first of all, you've never even had that goal in your life. You've never set that as a goal. You've never even thought of that as a goal. Because what mantra is rolling around your head? If you're overweight and you're a dieter, I know what you're thinking 24 hours a day. And it's some version of, I just want to lose the weight. I just want to lose this weight. I just want to lose the weight. I just want to lose the weight. No, you don't just want to lose the weight. You want to lose the weight and keep it off. You want to lose the weight and live at your goal weight for the rest of your life. That's the key part, though. You never focus on it. Never focus on maintenance. No, you don't. Dieters always, I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with that later. Well, 95, 98% of dieters that lose weight, the successful ones, 95, 98% of them put the weight back on. So clearly, if you do want to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot, dieting is never going to get you there. There's no diet in the world coming down the pike that's going to help you, because the core problem with dieting is the mindset piece. I mean, nutritional philosophy wise, all the diets work. If you follow pretty much any diet, you're going to lose weight. The problem is you don't know how to keep that way of being up. So that's why Program Yourself Thin takes the weight loss, wraps it in personal development. And really, it's more of a program of becoming the thin, healthy version of you from the inside out. And I say inside out because it starts with your thoughts. And I say this every day, but if you don't think your thoughts affect your weight, I think that's crazy. So anyways, but if y'all have questions, feel free to ask them. Anything. I've helped people with every single kind of diet. I swear I've worked with people doing every kind of diet that exists. But if you're struggling with your diet, you're struggling with food, feel free to ask anything. Again, most of the time, your struggles have less to do with your willpower and self-control and a lot more to do with your mindset and how you're thinking about things. So that's why if you're struggling, ask a question, because I may be able to give you some insights you can't get to. What's up, Jen? Jen says, I eat clean 95% of the time. I've had a 15-pound regain after maintaining over 4 years. Is PYT a good fit? I eat clean 95% of the time. I've had a 15-pound regain after maintaining over 4 years. Yeah, I mean, I think Program Yourself Thin is a good fit for most people. The main thing for Program Yourself Thin, first of all, you've got to be kind of a thinker. It's really, I make this crystal clear. Program Yourself Thin is not good for most people. If you're here listening to me, if you listen to me regularly, you can pretty much assume that you're already in the ballpark of it'll work for you. Why? I know I talk fast. I know I'm talking all over the place, up and down, conceptual levels. And what that means is that anyone that stays here for any period of time, I know that you're probably an overthinker. You probably think a lot. You're probably a perfectionist. You're probably a type A, action-oriented type of person. You're probably successful in a lot of areas of your life, but struggle with the weight. That's kind of my typical client avatar. And so that's the first hurdle. So if you're even here listening, you probably already crossed that hurdle, because most dieters land on this and just keep going. Listen, I'm on TikTok. I know what I could do. Oh, Jesus, there's a spider right there. Get out of here, spider. Oh my God. There's a fucking spider jump on my face in the middle of one of these. One of the worst things I ever had happen. I don't know what happened. I don't understand how throats work. I gotta look this up, but I was talking and all of a sudden, like my throat just instant dried up and I couldn't talk and I was like choking. My eyes were watering. That was a fun one. But a spider jumping on my face would be, I do not need that, even though it's a little spider. So yeah, so is program yourself good for that? Here's what I will say to you, Jen, is in the sense that the way you're framing your question, I know I could help you. You know, there's no question about that because the way we talk about weight gain is so interesting. I eat clean 95% of the time. Okay. So the first thing is licensing effect, right? What's the licensing effect? Licensing effect is kind of a psychological thing that happens to us. The most classic example is kind of like, you start working out at the gym and in your mind, you're like, oh my God, I burned 500 calories. So I'm going to have that muffin. That muffin's only 200 calories. So I've still lost 300 calories. When in reality, you burn 200 calories and the muffin's 500 calories and you added 300 extra calories in. So the licensing effect's really interesting. And I see a lot of times it's showing up at the gym. The second place is I eat clean. I eat healthy. And I eat clean 95% of the time. Now, again, I'm not picking on you, Jen, because you may literally be really tracking everything really clear and literally maybe eating clean 95% of the time. But you'd be an outlier if that was the case. Most people, 95 might really be like 85, eating clean, maybe not as clean as you thought. And then on top of that, the ultimate one is that you can eat clean 100% of the time and still overeat and put weight on. So you can overeat clean food. It's harder. It's a lot easier typically to overeat processed, hyper palatable foods. But you can absolutely overeat clean foods too. Okay. So the first thing we want to look at is we want to get rid of that licensing effect thing. It doesn't matter if you eat clean 95% of the time. Throw that sentence right out the window because it's confusing your brain. And what we want to start with is I've had a 15-pound regain after maintaining for over 4 years. We can even get rid of the over maintaining for 4 years, okay? Because those are both confusing your brain. What I want to look at, Jen, is I want to say I've had a 15-pound regain when? So did you start regaining a week ago, a month ago, a year ago? That's what I want to know. First question I'm looking for. 15-pound gain over the last 2 months, let's say, right? And now this is good. I like that you're asking this question because here you go, folks. Notice how I'm clarifying. That's what I'm looking to do. I'm taking, and again, that was a very clear question, but I'm taking out the parts that are confusing your brain, right? And what I want to see the question as I've had a 15-pound regain over the last 2 months. I'm putting that part in. And I don't like to say that I've had a 15-pound regain because that's actually language that disconnects you from the cause. Here's what I mean. You haven't had a 15-pound regain. You've started eating more calories and your weight's gone up. Does that make sense? A lot of people, I love, what's it? One of my favorites. I had a client I was working with a couple weeks ago and she goes, yeah, the chocolate, there was chocolate in the house and it got eaten. And I said, got eaten. I said, that's one of the most disassociated ways you could say that. You know what I mean? So the way we speak to ourselves, the way we talk about things has a huge impact on how we're able to deal with them. Okay. So you didn't have a 15-pound regain. That makes it sound like it happened out of nowhere. Right? As 15 pounds all of a sudden came on my body. I don't know what's going on. Well, I know what's going on. You've been eating more calories. I don't give a shit if they're clean or not. I don't care if you're 95% clean or not. I don't care if you've been maintaining for 4 years or not. What I know is that all of a sudden you gained 15 pounds because you started consuming more calories. And I define it clearly like that because I want this to be crystal clear. So I can almost guarantee you, Jen, that somewhere in your routine, because again, here's the beauty. You're starting from a great spot because you have a nice solid foundation the last 4 years. But something over the last period of time when you put 15 pounds on, you've started adding more calories in somewhere. And so I want to know what they are. And so we figure out that, actually, you know what I mean? I started doing 2 helpings at dinner. Or I started snacking in the afternoon, whatever it is. Okay. And there might be a couple things. Well, great. Look, I started doing this thing. Great. Now all of a sudden it becomes, I need to work on, I want to cut my dinners back down to how they used to be. All of a sudden I notice I kind of loosen up. I start eating more there. Or I start snacking in the afternoon. I'm going to dial that down. Okay. But now we're way more specific. We're right in the cause and effect world. Okay. What do I mean by cause and effect world? A lot of people, listen, your weight is a reflection of your habitual behavior, specifically your eating, and your lifestyle factors in too. But your weight's a reflection. So you can't lose weight, folks. There's no such thing as you losing weight. Short of you chopping a limb off, you can't lose weight. What you can do is you can eat differently and live differently. And over time, through a magical process, the weight goes down. Your locus of control, your control over the situation is what you eat and how you live. You have no control really over the weight loss piece of it. So again, when we say, oh, I've gained 15 pounds, you didn't gain 15 pounds. You ate more food. You've been eating more calories, and that's turned into a weight increase. And when you start looking at this way, I know it's a little upsetting at first because you get away, this kind of been your shield, right? A little bit denial shield, whether you did it intentionally or not. But once you start seeing things more accurately, it helps you get to a solution way faster. So hope that helps out, Jen. And if you're still here, feel free to fill me in on some of the details that I may have said, because I'm happy to help you further. I'm happy to help all of you folks. Again, I am here to literally coach you. This is my, in yoga, we call it Dharma. This is my work. I do this very intentionally to help people out. To me, weight is life and death. And for me, I'm literally here to help you all out. So feel free to ask any questions you want. Jen says, I tend to overeat when I'm overwhelmed. And it's been over the last year, new job, less active. Okay. So see? So again, Jen, right? So you see what I mean, though? It had nothing to do with 95% clean eating. It really has nothing to do with the 4 years. Again, that's a great thing, though. Congratulations. That's wonderful. But now we get to the heart of it, right? That you started it's been over a year. You started a new job. You tend to eat when you're overwhelmed. So you're kind of an emotional eater. You've been more stressed. You've eaten more food. Great. Okay. Because now we're crystal clear. And no, it's the answer. Here's the thing, though, right? We're still going to go deeper. I hope this is helpful, everyone. Because the point I want to make, I'm not saying like what I help you with in Program Yourself is like magical and like you're just like I say some words or you listen to a hypnosis session, everything changes. What I'm trying to show you is that it's a completely different way to approach all this. So you say, oh, I put 15 pounds on. What do I do? Right? Because Jen, when you first asked that question, you're flummoxed, right? Because you're in the headspace of, I don't understand. I eat 95% clean. I've kept the weight off for 4 years. I don't know how I put 15 pounds on. Right? And that's kind of where you're at. But look at within a minute, 2 minutes, now all of a sudden we're saying, yeah, I started a job. It's stressful. I tend to eat more when I'm stressed. Great. Now we've gone from this really vague, completely inaccurate, vague idea to something very specific. And so now again, we end up right at emotional eating. We always end up at emotional eating, folks. Emotional eating is pretty much the only reason you're going to be struggling with your weight. To be honest, that's far what I've seen. Now, again, under this definition, that if you're not emotional eating, you're just eating to nourish your body. And you eat to nourish your body. And once your body's nourished, you stop. Right? That's completely not emotional eating. And none of us do that anyways. So again, we get to Jen here and she's been stressed out, new job, overwhelmed. And that's turned the eating up a bit. Why? Because that's what she does. That's how she deals with the overwhelm and the stress. And so we don't want to just stop eating. I don't want you to start another diet. I don't want you to just turn the calories down, because the extra eating you've been doing to put 15 pounds on is a symptom of a deeper problem, that this new job has started a year ago and you have not learned how to manage the stress and, the emotional pieces of that job yet. It's that simple. Okay. And so we don't want to just stop eating, because then you'll just be a thin, stressed person. So what we want to do is realize, I started this job. I've been kind of stressed and overwhelmed for a year. I just haven't really learned how to manage it as well as I want to yet. But now again, laser-like, now the magic question becomes, how do I want to feel about this job? How can I relax more? How can I deal with the stress of this job more effectively, more calmly, in a more grounded, centered way? And so now you ask if PYT will help you. I mean, that's the core of the program, because all of you folks, listen, I don't even have to know you to know that you're stressed out. If you live in America in 2025 and you're not stressed, are you even alive? Like, come on, right? So again, stress management to me is the ground floor of managing your weight. And so that's why with Program Yourself Thin, you don't start with some crazy meal plan. You start with a 5-minute hypnosis session in the morning. You know what I mean? If you're really motivated, you listen to a 10-minute hypnosis session at night, and you bookend your day with calm, relaxation, grounded, centeredness. You get all this good stuff put in your head too. But the physical, mental, emotional calm and peace is really the ground floor, the foundation that we build on and Program Yourself Thin. Because for most of you, what you're going to ultimately get to is that your weight really, again, the weight's not the problem, it's your eating. That's the problem, obvious, right? But you're eating more in situations. The core reason you're eating more in situations than you want to is because you're anxious, you're stressed, you're tweaked up. And calming and relaxing a bit is one of the easiest ways to start eating better. There's a lot more to it. I don't want to make it sound like I just relax you and you eat different. That's not it. But that becomes the kind of ground floor we build up on. You know what I mean? Like, again, we're on a foundation of calm peacefulness, because when you're more calm and relaxed, you think different. You make different choices. You crave different foods. You know what I mean? Like everything, it's it's one of those leveraged behaviors. If you focus on relaxation, you get a huge return on investment from that. So again, what I would suggest to you, Jen, at the very least, is make sure you go to my, and this, I suggest this to all of you, click my bio, click my little picture, whatever app you're on or wherever you're at watching this, and click the link in the bio, right? Because that'll give you a free hypnosis session that I made for you. It'll give you a bunch of other tools I made for you. I got the Circle community. It's going to be a free community as well. If you're a client, excuse me, I actually had some clients write to me. They heard me talking about it, and for whatever reason, they missed the emails I'd sent them about it. But it's already set up for clients. So if you're in the program already and you're not in Circle, please shoot me an email and I'll get you in there, because it really brings the program alive without question. There's a community there. Everything's easy to access. There's an AI kind of guide that you can reference to use it. It just makes the program a million times better. And so if you're not in there and you're part of the program, please shoot me a message and I'll get you in there. And then if you're not in the program, there's going to be a free section as well. And I'm going to put a bunch of cool stuff in there. I'm kind of working on that right now. So I should have that ready this week, so go check that out. Confessions nutritionist says, for years I was eating clean until I started tracking. I never lost weight. Now after 1 year, down 60 pounds. Wow. Great job. Yeah. The clean eating, got to watch out for that. That's probably, again, as soon as I hear that someone's struggling with their weight, as soon as they start with eating clean, I almost instantaneously, I'm thinking licensing effect, is at play. And again, the licensing effect confuses our brain. You just watched it in real time, with Jen, I hope. And I hope, Jen, you feel, again, you may not be thrilled with it. You may wish there was just a simpler answer. But at least you're in the cause effect world. At least things make sense to you, right? You can understand this. You're not a bad person, right? You didn't just lose your motivation and, lose your willpower and control. The fundamental shift happened in your life and you haven't adjusted well enough to it yet to live at your goal weight. That's all, and with a little bit of practice and focus and some strategy, you'll get right back to where you were, with your new job, but yeah, great job, Confession Nutritionist. Yeah. If you track, again, you don't have to, I hate tracking, but, it is useful for like a week or two. I think tracking is great. It's really useful information. I think tracking forever is silly, for most people. It's me says, what do you think of OMAD? OMAD's 1 meal a day. I think OMAD is silly for most people, but again, the golden rule of program yourself thin is there's no right or wrong. There's only what works for you. So if you are currently doing OMAD and been doing it for years and you love it, then ignore what I'm saying. Okay. But for most people, OMAD's going to be a miserable experience for you. It certainly was for me. I don't want to eat 1 meal a day. I don't like it. I find it very stressful and I don't like it at all. So again, you do not have to do OMAD to lose weight. I promise you that. All right. It's just one more kind of gimmick. The science. There's science can back anything up. Any philosophy, any plan you have that's going to reduce your calorie consumption, there's going to be science that backs up the benefits you get from that. Okay. So literally, if you're overweight and you reduce calories and you lose weight, you become healthier, any science is going to prove that. So OMAD is just another, again, it's just one more gimmick, for most people. Again, now they're the most, I will tell you this. Now I can say this too. I was never an OMAD person. I mean, I've tested out one day a meal. I've tried that shit and I didn't like it. I've never committed to it in a long-term way. But what I did commit to for a long time back in the day was, I was a raw food vegan for a little while there. And it was miserable. I don't recommend it. Okay. I learned a lot from it though. But here's my point because I've worked with a lot of OMAD people and they are some of the most, committed, the most convinced, of that approach. And this happens because the more extreme the diet is, the more convinced the person is. Because think about it, right? I was that way too. Again, when I say that, when I was a raw foodist, obviously I was completely convinced. I wasn't a vegan, by the way. I shouldn't have said that because I was a raw foodist, but I actually ate tuna. We would eat raw tuna back in the day, but I was obviously completely convinced of this. You see what I mean? I drank the Kool-Aid and I was like, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. And I was so obsessed with believing in it that it took me extra long to realize that it wasn't making me feel good. I felt good physically. I will give you that. Like I felt good physically. I felt very light and energized. Okay. But mentally and emotionally, I was obsessed with food. And I realized this is not a healthy way to live. This isn't how I want to live my life. And that was a very big moment for me. I learned a lot from that. But I find a lot of people, whether it's OMAD, keto, obviously, carnivore, obviously, veganism, maybe, intermittent fasting to some degree, although it's not as extreme, water fasting, obviously. People get themselves into these places where they follow these really strict, rigid things. And they're so down that tunnel and committed to it that it's hard to let them know that, hey, there's other ways to do this, So yeah, OMAD is not something I would recommend for most people, but again, feel free to go check it out and try it. It's just a strategy to consume less calories. There's a lot of ways to do that that are way more comfortable and certainly a lot more sustainable. OMAD is really it's not a strategy that really has been proven to last long term for most people. Well, I don't care about long term, Jim. I just want to lose weight. Well, then you're in the wrong place because I don't give a shit about people losing weight for a little while. I'm proud. Hey, great. Knock yourself out. If that's what you want to do, go ahead. But I'm really fixated on people living at their goal weight and doing crazy shit like OMAD is rare. I've rarely seen someone who's been doing OMAD for 30 years. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm sure they do. But it's an outlier thing. And so for most people, it's not going to be the right thing. So, says you're awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Shelly says, no matter what I do, I can't shift the last 10 pounds. Shelly. That's not true. Watch your language. We got to watch our language. No matter what I do. Now you could say no matter what I've done. Okay. But I promise you, we'll just take it to an extreme. But if I put you in gym jail, you know about gym jail? It's where I put you in jail and I control all your calories. I promise you, Shelly, if I put you in gym jail, I'll get those last 10 pounds off, lickety split, no problem. So watch your language. I know what you mean, right? No matter what you've done, you have not been able to drop the last 10 pounds. I get that. Okay. But that to me, again, the language I want to use is specifically, everything I've tried has not worked for me to last 10 pounds. Great. Let me try something different then. You know what I mean? We want to keep the door open because I promise you can drop the last 10 pounds. There's nothing magical about those last 10 pounds. They tend to come off slower than the first 10 pounds, right? But other than that, and don't get me wrong, the last 10 pounds is different than the first 10 pounds and different than the middle 10 pounds. This is true. I believe most of those differences are psychological, but they're physical too, as well. Just Jane wants to go into gym jail. I should open up a gym jail. See, it's so funny. I swear, like that's my, again, I'm so committed and I am genuinely so congruent with my message. But if I was just a shithead who didn't care about this, I would be selling a diet or diet programs. I would literally open up gym jail and sell tickets to it. And people would be flocking to it probably because people just are so obsessed with fast weight loss and shit like that. But that's so funny. But so anyways, back to Shelly. Shelly, again, watch your language, right? Yeah, what you've done hasn't worked. And I bet what I would say, I'm going to give you a theory. I truly believe this because I do think the last 10 pounds, I do think it's the hardest 10 pounds personally, from my own experience and working with a lot of people. But not for the reasons you think. I think the last 10 pounds typically take a lot longer than the previous 10-pound increments. And I think that's where people go wrong because I think they do dramatic things that are right on the edge of unsustainable and they can do it while they're losing weight. But once they get the last 10 pounds and the weight starts coming off really slow or not at all, it's really hard to stick with the plan. And so the reason I see most people can't get the 10 pounds down is they don't have a really good system or strategy to dial those down. So I promise you can lose those last 10 pounds though. You just got to change up what you're doing. Yeah. Yeah, my hammer, yeah. Eldred said it was my hammer over there, right? My hammer is the other thing, right? Is every time you eat some dumb shit, I come up, pop up with a hammer and whack your thumb with it. Now, there's more context to it, okay? I'm not trying to punish you for eating the wrong thing. It's part of a deeper kind of thought experiment, but Jayan says, I didn't realize how much I was overeating until I started tracking on my fitness pal. Yeah, I mean, I hear that literally every single day. Folks, our brains never evolved to track calories in a very literal way. You know, they've evolved to track calories in a, what's the word? I guess it's literal. They are both literal, I suppose, but totally different. When your body's built to track calories in a very intuitive way. Oh, don't get me started on intuitive eatings. I don't mean it that way, but a very intuitive way you're tracking calories. But to start tracking calories very analytically, your brain's not built for that. So, you know, yeah, if you have not tracked, and you do not need to track calories to lose weight. I want to make that crystal clear. But I do think tracking calories as an exercise can be very eye-opening because, again, you know, it's very easy to underestimate the calories in food. Extremely easy. So, yeah. So great job tracking it and opening your eyes to that. Because, again, that helps you. Lisa says, I've lost too much. I have feared the regain, continued losing, now at BMI of 18.4. Yeah, I've lost too much. I feared the regain. That's another thing. I mean, yeah, dieters just get terrified of the regain to the point that's, yeah, right. You just kept losing extra. So you had extra buffer so you didn't gain it. So yeah, the fearing the regain again. And folks, of course, you're going to fear the regain. You've never learned how to maintain. Think about it. Dieting is just about losing weight. So most people, you know, again, I don't know. Well, I do what I can. Every day I get on here talking about this because the psychology of weight loss is so much different than you think it is. Your general intuitions of weight loss are not your own. They've been installed there by the diet industry. So most of the things you just kind of naturally think about weight loss are bullshit because you've been conditioned by the diet industry. But a big part of I mean, think about it again. The estimates are I've seen the best number I've seen is 84%. 84 to 98% of dieters that lose weight put it back on. So those are terrible numbers. And you know this. I mean, that's your big issue, right? I know I can lose it. I can't keep it off. That's the big issue. And so people are so scared of regaining. Now, again, they'll go to theories. Well, oh, it's because my body has a set point. I can't be at this. I can't live at this lower weight, which is bullshit. I mean, I guess when you've talked to as many people as I have that have lost weight and lived at that weight for years and years, you start to question that. And then when you go through and do it, you question it. And then when you see people that you work with do it, you start to question that. I don't in any way think that your physical body set point is the thing keeping you overweight. It's a factor. It's a slight factor, no doubt. But the main thing is your psychological set point, how you think of yourself. And most of you, if you've been overweight for a while, you think of yourself as an overweight person. That's your core self-image. That's your core identity. So when all of a sudden you lose the weight, now you're just a thin, overweight person. It feels weird. There's a lot of reasons, but that's one of the big ones. So Deb says, was in a bad car accident almost 3 years ago, was very active runner, put on 25 pounds for my life. Yeah, sorry, Deb. My life changed. I was very disciplined, but now just frustrated. I get it, Deb. I get it. And I'm sorry that happened to you. This is, again, another common thing. I mean, again, this is why I say dieting is very fixed and rigid. Program yourself then is very flexible. Again, I mean, one section of the mindset piece is maintenance. One of the sections of that part is how to deal with stress, times of stress. Because you got to be able to, I always say, like, dieting makes this fairy tale idea that you're going to get to your goal weight and then just live there forever. It's bullshit. Living at your goal weight, I always equate it very much like, it's like surfing, right? And if you're surfing, you constantly have to be engaged and aware to some degree, right? Because the situation's constantly changing and in flux. So is your life. So, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, things are normalized. We kind of habituate to that. But then all of a sudden you get a car accident, it throws you all off. I had a shoulder surgery. I broke my foot. You know, I'm talking different times, but I moved into my house, had my baby. You know, it's like you have all this different stuff that goes on in life, throws it all upside down. And so now you got to kind of re-go at it. You know, things change in life. Jen starts a new job. Oh, all of a sudden you got to adjust and adapt to that. And dieting, there's no way, dieting's not built for adapting. Dieting's not built for the long term. So yeah, I get it, Deb. And I feel, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Now it's up to you to, kind of take a step back and readjust. Okay. So you were a very active runner. Oh, so let me give you an example, because I know Deb has been blaming herself for 3 years since the accident that she doesn't run anymore. When I'm going to guess, if you're in a bad car accident, running is probably uncomfortable. Let's just leave it at that. It's probably worse than that. But let's just say you got in a car, you used to be a really active runner, running all the time. It was a central part of your lifestyle. All of a sudden you get in a big car accident, and now running is not going to work for whatever reason, injury, discomfort, whatever. Okay. So now there's this huge open space. And so now you think, well, I got myself to run. Why don't I just get myself to do something else? Or why don't I just force myself to run? That's not how your brain works. Just because you got yourself to run and develop that habit. It's like if I learn to play the guitar and all of a sudden I lose my hand, well, I can't keep playing the guitar, and I can't just go pick up the, I'm trying to think of another instrument without hands, but I can't pick up the tuba. I don't know how to play the tuba. So now it's a whole nother journey to go on. So again, a lot of times we blame ourselves and see things incorrectly. So for you, Deb, and looking at what you're saying, I was very disciplined, but now just frustrated. Yeah, but I bet you got in the car accident, and in your mind, you're like, I have to get back to running. And running at this point is just not working for you the way it did before the car accident. And so now you're making the mistake of saying, well, I was disciplined and now I'm not disciplined. When in my estimation, I bet the bigger issue is that you were disciplined to go running because it just fit your lifestyle, it fit your personality, you like doing it, so it's easier for you to get you to do. Now it's just not for whatever reason. And you've wasted all your energy trying to get yourself to run when you don't want to now, instead of using your mindset to say, what would I like to do now in the situation I find myself in now? And the answer may be walking. It may be riding a bike. It may be doing yoga. It may be dancing. I don't know, the details of your situation, but I bet if you got more flexible with what you were going to do, you could get yourself back on track. And I'm going to say walking as an example here, because a lot of times we compare everything. So I used to run and burn 1,000 calories. And if I walk, it's only burning 100 calories. So that's not going to do it. Don't think that way, because again, you went from burning 1,000 calories running to doing nothing. And yes, there's the calorie factor, but the bigger issue that's probably affecting your weight is the mindset piece of it, because you're so upset that you're not running or doing anything that you're probably eating more. And that's probably more responsible for the weight than the not running. I hope that makes sense. Lisa says, how to find a balance of slowly gaining. Well, again, Lisa, what I would say, and this is just a very important piece too, that I find most dieters base all their weight loss around, I think this is so, when you understand the mind, you just realize how damaging this can be. But most dieters are constantly thinking about how much weight they want to lose. Right? That they're obsessed with how much weight they want to lose. And it's really interesting, because when you think about how much weight you want to lose, your reference point is actually your overweight self. Think about this for a second, right? You're like, I want to lose 40 pounds. Well, you want to lose 40 pounds off of your overweight self body. So most dieters will talk in language like, I want to lose X amount of pounds. I want to lose X amount of pounds. I need to lose X amount of pounds. In Program Yourself, then we talk about what you want to weigh. So what would you, if you were 40 pounds, we wanted to lose 40 pounds, what weight would you be at if you lost 40 pounds? And then we start fixating on that weight, that you, and we start building a mental image and identity around that weight. I hope that makes sense, because your brain's way more motivated by what it's going to get than what it's going to lose. This is why the food's an issue, So we instead of saying like, you think you're excited to lose 30 pounds, you're going to be more excited to say the number of the weight you're going to be at, and to really give that weight meaning by imagining yourself at that weight as that person you want to be. Again, Program Yourself Thin's weight loss wrapped in personal development. And so we want to take the weight and wrap it in more meaning. So we want to say, I want to be X amount of pounds because, so this is for you, Lisa. I don't want to find a balance of slowly gaining. I want to get fixated on the weight I want to be at. Because right now, I think you're fixated on how much weight you've lost on the BMI chart. And again, if you're not Lisa, if you're not in the program, I would suggest you go through the goal weight quiz. That's free anyways, folks. So if you get on my email list, I'll send that out. And again, that'll be in the Circle app as well. But we want to make this about what you want to be, not what you don't want to be. And dieting, most of your motivation is built around what you don't want to be. And it creates a lot of fundamental issues in the short and long term. It's a lot different when you focus on who you want to be, what you want to weigh, who you want to look like, who you want to live as. Way more motivating. And that will help you with that. User 379 says, I loved your video on manifesting ideal weight. I've listened several times. So good. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, if you like that, make sure that you get the hypnosis session I made. That's pretty much the best free thing that I give you all, I think. I think the training's better. I think you need background information too. But in terms of like hypnosis, that hypnosis session I give you for free, the new Thin Me, I think is wonderful. I took a bit of time to make that one. That one I really thought out, and I think it's really good. And I just give it to you all. So yeah, if you like the video, I think you'll like that even more. It goes even deeper. So thank you though. Jen says, thanks, Jim. I appreciate you talking to my issue. Yeah, no problem, Jen. Again, I'm here for you. So yeah, feel free to pop on these lives and ask questions. I'm happy to help you out. And then go check the program out if you're looking for a bit more support. Ehan says, if you're hungry, ask yourself, would you eat a piece of chicken or a piece of fruit? If it's a no, it's emotional eating. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question to ask. When you do feel hungry, ask yourself, I want some chips, okay. If it's, would I have a piece of fruit right now? I don't want a piece of fruit. I just want chips. Then you're probably not that hungry. So that's a great question to ask. Sherry says, the timer totally works for me. It makes me laugh. Every time I think of fast food, I literally stick my thumb in the air and feel the pain. Yes, that's a good one, right? Again, that's a little hypnosis technique we use. What's up, Kathy? Kathy says, how would you suggest a person control food noise? Great question. I've been focused on this for over 30 years. I am obsessed with the concept of food noise and managing it genuinely, naturally, because I think that, being able to control your mind and influence your mind. I don't want to say control, by the way. I do want to get away from the word control because I think that overstates it. I don't think you could ever control your mind or control food noise because that's too far. We can influence, I believe. That's as much as I believe. Maybe I'm limited belief on that, but I believe you can influence your mind. You can influence the food noise very strategically. So how do you do that though? Well, you got to understand how to run your mind to some degree, because a lot of the food noise is really your internal dialogue, and what you're saying to yourself. And it's kind of running on autopilot. So as you start to become aware of it and start to influence it more and more, you do gain more control over it, and that's really valuable and helpful, because most people, their food noise is literally just driving them in the wrong direction, So what I would suggest, Kathy, honestly, because I want to give you a solid answer, but I'm running out of steam here a little bit to go into that too deeply. But what I would suggest is go to, it looks like you're on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook, well, I'm just going to type this in there. So if you're still here, I'm literally just going to put the link into the chat box there, and you can go directly to this link and get the hypnosis session. It's programyourselfthin.com/hypno. And you can click on that. I hope that's showing up for you. I don't know it looks like it showed up. So hopefully you can go to that, get the hypnosis session. But once you sign up for the hypnosis session, you're brought to a training. Watch the training, because that's going to give you a lot more kind of core understanding of how your mind works. And once you have that, come back here and let me know you watched it, and I will be able to explain this a lot more in detail. Okay. Curveball says the program is a one-time fee, right? Yes, the program is a one-time fee. And I will let you know right now, again, this is the last week. This is it. I swear on my kids. This is it. The price is going up for good. There will be no special offers. There'll be nothing. The price is going from $300 to $500 is the lowest. So if you want to get the program, I'd suggest getting it now. You get lifetime access to it. It's a one-time fee. It's just been completely revamped and redesigned. I just redid all the goal weight blueprints it took me months. I really put a lot of time and effort into it. The circle community is really just about to really kick off. You've got the guide now, you've got Jim AI, you've got me, we've got live Q&A calls. It is a value packed, program, and, I'm really going to go into promoting it mode. You know what I mean? I got a couple more things I want to get going, but you can get it now for $300. So unless you like to pay more for stuff, you're going to want it. You're going to want it. I promise you this, the stuff I'm adding to it, it just keeps getting better. And like I said, even having the little AI bot in there is so amazing because, I've created so much content over the years, And the big challenge is like, I can't just put it all into a database. So here you go. It's just overwhelming. But now with the AI bot, you can ask pretty much any question you want. It's referencing this whole huge database of information. In addition to, you have a question about the program, you can ask it there and it gives you a quick thing, gives you some guidance where you can listen to lessons. So it's like having a little personal coach bring you through the program. And then if you want to go deeper into stuff, though, there's a Gym AI, which is an AI of me. I literally clone myself in 11 million words. It's like talking to me. So it's crazy. And that's included in the program as well. So yes, it is a one-time fee. Progress Frequency says, what do you advise to people with binge eating disorders and overeating in general? Now, I don't deal with eating disorders. I want to make that crystal clear. I usually work with people that do not have, defined disordered eating. I have worked with them for sure. That's not my specialty. That being said, I do believe that what I'm saying here can help you still. Okay. So what I typically say when I approach emotional binge eating situations is I believe there's basically 3 big triggers of this. Okay. So the key is not to just stop binge eating, not to just stop emotional eating. It's to understand the deeper cause of it. So emotional eating, binge eating to me, most of the time is a symptom of a deeper problem. Okay. So what's the deeper problem? It's usually one or all of these 3 things. First is you're too hungry. You've over restricted calories. You got yourself so hungry that now you can't control your eating. That's number 1. Number 2 is emotional. You get into an emotional space where you don't give a shit, right? You get some emotional. It's so overwhelming. You don't know how to deal with it. You don't want to deal with it. And so you turn to the food in order to deal with the emotion, because instead of thinking about the thing that makes you feel the emotion, you're thinking about the food. So it's a distraction technique. And so as you start eating the food, you actually start to feel better. There's the effect of the food and there's the shift of focus and attention. And then finally is habit. That it might just be partly a habit thing too. Every Friday night you get done with work and you go and, binge eat. So it's usually one or all 3 of those things kind of wrapped up together. But your job here is to figure out which of these are at play. Okay. So, because again, it depending on what it is, it's going to need a different solution. Right. So if you're over restricting and getting yourself super hungry and then you can't control your eating, well, obviously we're not going to do emotional stuff there. We're going to just, strategize to not let yourself get so hungry. Okay. And if it's emotions, we want to know which emotions it is, right? It might be depression. It might be anger. It might be, well, again, we need to know what the emotions are before we can resolve them. But that's the first step. So that's usually the first thing I share with people when it comes to binge eating, emotional eating, is let's understand it a little deeper. Let's get a little more information on it so that we can, again, create a strategic solution for it. So I hope that helps. Yehan says, OMAD makes me feel like I'm on a binge. Yeah, I agreed. I get it. I don't like OMAD one bit. So, again, I'm not an expert in it. You can give me all the science you want. I don't give a shit. Because I know the reality is that most people cannot stick with OMAD, the 1 meal a day. It's very stressful and they're thinking they're obsessed with food. It's just, I've seen most people, their quality of life goes down on OMAD, even if they lose weight, is what I've seen. Jen says, if we join, do we get, if we join, do we get an opportunity for coaching during group calls? That's a great question. The way it is right now, you get every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, we have a live Q&A call. Okay. Now this is over. Like I'm on camera, but you can text whatever questions you have. Okay. That's included and you get that. If you want to coach, I just kind of check this out. So if you're interested in coaching, shoot me a message. Because I do have a group coaching program and, right now I haven't even been offering it to people, but if you're interested in the group coaching program right now, again, I will keep that kind of old price. It's $1,000 in addition to the program. It's $1,000 for 8 weeks. And that includes 8 weeks of coaching calls with me. And these group coaching calls, this is the best value you can get. Again, I don't want to sit here and turn this into a sales call, but this, the most value I can offer you is working with you one-on-one. And that's what these group coaching calls are. They're done over Zoom. They're done on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, every week. And I will spend a lot of time with you. I keep that group small so that I can get to know you, get to understand you, and coach you through the program. So if you're interested in that, if you join the program and interested in that, just shoot me an email and I'll let you know about that. Um, but that's the coaching piece. And again, I can't speak enough. I mean, it's 25 grand to work with me privately. So to get direct access to me for 8 weeks, and you can get on both calls, you know what I mean? I have no problem with that. So I will literally work with you twice a week for 8 weeks. And that's a great deal too. Gym jail. You're so funny. Thank you. I would not be happy in gym jail. No, you would not. No one would be happy in gym jail unless all you cared about is weight loss, and you'd be happy for that. But you'd be starving, and that part wouldn't be so good. You're welcome, Lisa, addressing that comment. And I said I was in a mental hospital for 2 months and put on 20 kilograms. I lost 10 kilograms with OMAD. Yeah, again, that's what I mean. Like, if OMAD's working for you, ignore me. You know what I mean? Like, again, there's the golden rule. There's no right or wrong. It's only what works for you. When I'm speaking to groups, I'm speaking in best practices, the norm, and for most people, OMAD's going to be a stressful, short lasting experience, but for Anna here, she lost 10 kilograms with OMAD. Now, again, by the way, though, I don't give a shit how much weight people lose on a plan, because listen, here's the thing. You can't really judge a plan until you've stopped losing weight, just so you know. All right. So most people, what they do is they trade the pleasure and excitement of the food for the pleasure and the excitement of the scale going down. So it's not until you get to the final weight and the weight stops going down, right? Because what happens, right? You trade the pleasure and excitement of the food for the pleasure and excitement of the scale going down, but eventually the scale stops going down. Even if I'm at my goal weight, great. But even still, now you don't have that to look forward to. Understand that. It's awesome being at your goal weight, but it's like extra exciting and unknown when you're getting there. And so all of a sudden you get to your goal weight, and what are you looking forward to? If you're a dieter, what are you looking forward to? Oh, just being at my goal weight. Well, what about hedonic adaptation? We adapt to whatever we're living with, right? Your new car turns into your car. Your new house turns into your house. Your new clothes turn into your clothes. So, again, I wouldn't be able to judge Anna's experience with OMAD until she had been 10 kilograms down for a year or two. Then she would say it. Then I would, again, it still wouldn't be for me, but I would say, oh, okay, yeah, great. You found something for you. But just because someone loses weight on a plan, please stop falling for that, folks, just so you know, because that's one of the main diet tricks they do. So, but great job, Anna. Great job taking action. And I hope you're feeling better now. What's up, Marcy? How's your summer going? My summer is going phenomenal. I would say this is just a summer for the ages. And it's so funny, last year was amazing too. I had a great summer, but we were kind of traveling a bit more. And this one, we're not really. And it's just been awesome. I've been fishing a lot. We just got kayaks yesterday. I cannot wait to use those. It's been really awesome. Hanging out a lot. It's been beautiful out, walking, exercising, eating my farm food. The work's going awesome. So yeah. So how's your summer going, Marcy? You get I don't know. Yeah, it's funny, right? When you have kids, summer is a double-edged sword. The Curry Gang says, can you grab the camera for a Lamar Jackson edit? No, I don't even know what that is. I mean, I know Lamar Jackson is, but I don't know what the Lamar Jackson edit would be. All right. Perfect chance to get out of here. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Great questions. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being on here and asking questions, your comments. I appreciate them. If you're not in my world, make sure you click my link in my bio. Go get that free hypnosis session, or go to programyourselfthin.com. You can get it there as well. It's free. Got a bunch of free stuff for you there. Go check that out. If you like this, I'm here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern. I'm happy to answer your questions, help you out. And if you missed that and you still like listening to it, it's also a podcast. So you can go to any podcast platform, search Program Yourself Thin. It'll pop up. And I do these, like I said, every weekday, and you can listen to them. A lot of people say they listen to them while they're walking or working out. Smart move, because I am using hypnotic techniques while I speak to you here. And just listening to the podcast alone is most likely going to help you lose weight as well. So, all right, everyone, have a super duper day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.